right, we are live. Hello everyone. This is the final live stream for building the PHPUnit and Pest Converter. I'll probably do a demo next week. I'm talking to Frake about maybe demoing the completed, hopefully, MVP by the end of the stream. Demoing it on one of his projects Monday. He reached out to me, so there may be another live stream, but I won't be building it live anymore from here out. So however far we get today, hopefully enough to do a demo maybe on a small project I have like Confident Laravel or something, and then we'll kind of see how it goes. So let me know you can see me, hear me in the chat. Everything's good. I'm gonna go ahead and get started here. Let's kind of catch up to where we left off, because I didn't end up doing a small live stream tomorrow afternoon. So the last thing Jess and I did together, that was the last stream. So if we look at like the Pest Converter, it's pretty much filled out now. All of those core tasks that we had to-do'd on or outlined, kind of looking at drift, thinking through things on our own. All of these are built out now, and those are what I considered relevant for the MVP. Some of these additional things are the things I'm going to work on kind of offline this weekend, maybe if I have a little time. I consider these kind of the extra little touches that Shift can do to, really polish things up. So for example, do some basic conversions to like the expectation API that Pest offers. Instead of using, this assert same, we can say like expect to be kind of stuff. So I think there's opportunity to do those things. Should be a pretty, more or less from a Shift perspective, a relatively straightforward syntax parsing and kind of converting those to what we want. So I'm gonna try to work on those over the weekend, and I think the rest of this stuff is definitely post MVP. Even this is post MVP, and MVP in my mind is like getting you more than halfway there to be able to run Pest, like getting all the grunt work done and you being able to run like vendor bin Pest. And maybe you have some failing tests or maybe you have some syntax errors, but the point is it's like installed, running, your tests are mostly converted, and you can kind of get your stuff back to green. That would be a huge win for me on the MVP. So we finished up with mostly the data providers yesterday. I did the helper methods, which is really just more of the same. It went through that original PHPUnit file. We scan it for method finders, and then basically any methods we find, we consider kind of inline helpers for that particular test method. So if you had like a private method inside of one of your PHPUnit classes, that will now get converted, put into your Pest file, and just wrapped as a general function. And then of course the code inside that class would get or reference that function now, and we can kind of see that with this simple little regular expression later, whether you were doing static methods or an instance method, and then the method name, of course. So it should be pretty high fidelity there to find and kind of replace any helpers. I don't really feel that's a very common thing, so again, there might need to be more work here, but the test methods and data providers should account for obviously a majority of methods within your PHP unit class. So we are now down back to that original class to script, and I've got some failing tests here that we're going to try to make pass. And once this test passes, then I'm going to try to end the stream by running this against my Confident Laravel codebase, which of course Confident Laravel is all about, testing existing applications in Laravel. Obviously, in that course, I build out a bunch of tests for the application itself. So it has a pretty decent test suite. I want to say it has about 300 tests. So that'll be a good kind of check. So let's run this, see this failing test so we can see what's kind of going on here. So what I've done is built a tiny little syntax parser that basically will analyze a class. And it really just gets some very basic things about that class structure. It's going to pull out its name, it's going to pull out what it extends, and it's going to pull out its traits. And what I'm doing here is, at this point, we have migrated, to my knowledge, every method within that original class file over to Pest. We've converted your test cases, we've analyzed that file for data providers, and then we've gone in after all that, and any method that's potentially left in that PHPUnit class is now considered a helper. So we've done all that. So now this file should really have nothing in it but instance variables and traits, things like that. Instance variables we don't need to worry about. Those will just be considered public within Pest, and your code can just reference those as normal. Again, if you were even using those. The only things that wouldn't be accounted for would be like dead code. Maybe if you commented out a large block of code in your test, obviously that's not going to get pulled over. In my opinion, it really shouldn't get pulled over. Maybe if you had some class constants you were using, I could see that potentially being an issue. So again, MVP, those kind of boundary cases, I'm okay with a user coming back and saying, hey, we're using class constants to avoid magic strings. Can you pull these over too? You know, absolutely, no problem. So for now though, what we really care about, what's left is, are you extending a custom, quote unquote custom, test case, so for example the Laravel test case or some of your own test case, or are you extending PHPUnit's test case directly? If so, then we don't need to worry about it. And then of course, do you have any traits? So as with all these tests I've written, I kind of have a basic test and then I have kind of a complex test. My basic test, it just extends PHPUnit's test case, no traits, it's all no doc blocks, it's all easy peasy. And then the complex test, it extends a test case, but it's actually Laravel's test case, and then it uses all sorts of Laravel's traits, you know, refresh database with faker, and then finally it has a doc block which actually has a group annotation in it from PHPUnit. So all these things are kind of those extra things that would be in a more complex class that would end up getting ported back over. So the issue now is this is running, but I think my fixtures are a little out of whack. So let's kind of take a look at these and get these back to a good place. So given this basic class, again, super simple thing, there's no, you know, test cases in here, nothing to really do or worry about. The point here is that it's going to extend this test case, and that's ultimately a PHPUnit test case, which again would not require a use statement brought over. So we have this original stub, which is basically just the header of this file without the namespace. So that should have been brought over by a previous task. And then when we're done analyzing this task, we should actually end up with nothing. There should be nothing in that header. Because it's a PHPUnit, it's a PHPUnit test class or test case class. We don't need that. We don't need to import that. Pest does that for us. Or more technically, we don't need to use that. So let's look at a complex example. This complex example has that doc block, it has a test case, it has traits, and again, this test case is actually the test case within our application, in this case, a Laravel test case. So again, the stub is going to be that header. We've already got the comment pulled over, everything we kind of need from there, but the ultimate result here would be that group statement notice is gone. And then this is here. So, this group statement is here. That should be group. So that's one of our issues. So if we're having a one-to-one relationship here, the stub that would have got pulled over would look something a bit more like this. And then afterwards, we should then see that group statement gone, and then all of Pest's uses that kind of exemplify what we're using. So we're using these other traits, we're using this test case, and then kind of a cool one here, I was just looking up in the docs. If you do a group annotation on a PHPUnit class, you can actually set this for all your test cases down here. You don't have to like append all of these with group integration. So instead of having to do that, we can just do it to the file at large right here. So if this task runs correctly, this is kind of what I would expect to see. And that's kind of where we are. Don't forget to inline all of those like uses tests. Oh, you can do a one line like that? That's kind of cool. Is that required? I don't, honestly, I don't really like that grouped syntax. I feel like it's hard to read. I kind of like seeing the multiple, just like I see the multiple here. Like I know, for example, you can do like, crazy, 1, 2, 3 here for all the other things. I've never been a fan of that. I like seeing those lines, call me old school. So I assume this is still technically valid, unless you're saying I have to group them. So let me know if it's required to make them all inline. Okay, so while we're waiting on that, our failure here, again, is no, not required. Okay, it's probably easier for me to output them this way for the time being. If that's a preference people like afterwards, then I can make that, an easy configuration option. Okay, let's go back to, I feel like all these stubs look the way I want. So let's go to this class to script converter here. Let's drop out this noise and let's see what's going wrong here. Okay, so no matching handler, mockery, put file contents. Let me close the chat so I got my full screen here. Okay, it's putting this same file back out, so it's really not, it's not updating that file like whatsoever. So let's keep that, let's get that a little farther down the road. Okay, so here we go. If we don't have empty uses, then we would basically want to inject this uses class bit here. So I think for now what I'm going to do, this isn't necessarily correct, but I'm just going to just to prove this kind of works, I'm going to PHP, or you know what, I've been avoiding like sprintf this whole time. Let's embrace it on this particular test case, and I'll go back and refactor the others. So yeah, let's do format uses, %s uses, %s class, and then this will just be PHP end of line, and this will be the uses, or the use statement. I could do something like fancy, like array reduce these, but I'm just going to break out a for each loop for now. Uses as use. And let's bring this in here. All right, let's see if this at least puts them at the bottom of the file. Yeah, there we go. We do have a use test case there. So that's nice. Okay, one more thing we actually need to do is we need to build a method that check traits. I don't like this check name, but I haven't finished my coffee, so I am moving a little slow. So we'll say if empty class traits, oh my gosh, can't type, traits, then return. Otherwise, uses is really just going to get everything from, yeah, we could just return array merge uses with traits, or well, class traits, sorry, no wonder PHP storms. There we go. And that doesn't really need to be 2 lines. Let's just tighten that up. All right, let's see what this looks like. Didn't seem to pick those up. Oh, string. I don't need contents for this one. I just need array uses. We're returning it. I guess that's fine. It's a little asymmetrical with the other stuff, but again, let's get this passing because I'd really like to demo instead of worry about code cleanliness at the moment. Uses must be of type array string given. Why would a string be given? Oh, passing contents. Okay, check.block argument 2, uses must be type of array null given. Why are you null? Oh. Yeah, that's why I didn't want to. Yeah, that asymmetry is bothering me. Let's fix it. Uses equals array merge return. And let's change this back to Now we're more symmetrical. All right. There we go. So there's our additional uses. They're just in the wrong spot now. So we need to take these and figure out how to kind of inject them after the last use statement. Ugh, that's going to be a little ugly. This is the part that I still kind of haven't figured out with Shift. Not really with Shift, but with all this abstract syntax tree parsing. There's really great parsers out there like Nikic, and a lot of great tools to actually like work with a class. There's not very many tools that actually like allow you to kind of reliably re-inject code, at least not without like heavy formatting, which that's always kind of an uphill battle with Shift. People don't like, you know, sometimes that it applies like the Laravel formatting or whatever, and all of that's configurable, and I've kind of, you know, pushed that issue to the side through that configuration, but I try to make the shifts not have to like format your code, you know, unless they really need to, or it's just, again, kind of a known part of the code. So far for this particular converter, the shift, I haven't had to format the code for any reason because we're using complete syntax tree parsing, which again is very good. High fidelity there. I don't have to worry about doing like string manipulation weirdness. But now I'm doing string manipulation weirdness to kind of put the class back together again. So far it's all just been appending, so string manipulation's fine. We just append the file with all the new methods we find. But obviously this appending, while that probably works, it's pretty gross to put it down here. We want to put it up here. That's the right thing to do. So how can we find kind of our last uses statement is what I'm trying to think of here. I want to find like the last uses statement. So really what we want to do, let's kind of pseudocode this out. We want to find last import and then, and it's easy to say, inject generated snippet, right? And this is like the generated, you know, uses snippet. Now, find last import is very easily said and not done because, you know, you have all sorts of weird things going on, like what if there is no import? You have like, you know, doc block or first tests, you know, and it's not even a test. It could be before each. It could be a before, you know, all. It could be all sorts of crap. So we have to figure out where to put that uses. In an ideal world, we'd have imports and it wouldn't really be an issue. I guess if you didn't have any imports, you would have blank space in your file and we would just know to put it at the top. So it might be easier than we think. So yeah, let's do that. Let's just build a little method that finds like an index, and then we can kind of put Humpty Dumpty back together again. So let's just make the API that we want. This would be like find import, you know, find last import, maybe something like that, contents, and this would return an index, and then basically we can always trust that it's going to return something, even if it is like, you know, 5 just after the PHP, you know, open tag. So then we could say something like contents equals, you know, substring of, substring would be contents, and then index, or well, 0 to index, and then dot snippet, and then dot, you know, substring contents, and then it would be index, I guess, +1 probably. This might be the -1. You know what? I think PHP has like a injectable string method. If anybody knows what that is off the top of their head, let me know. If not, I'll go check the docs here in a minute. And I think what we want to do instead here is make a snippet equal to nothing. And then down here, we'll just kind of keep up snippet. There we go. That's gonna let us do the right thing. All right. So yeah, now we just need to write this method. Snippet's gonna do the right thing, and we'll need to finish out the doc block cleanup, but that's not too bad. And then contents goes back out. So let's find last import. Let's create this method. So we need to find like the last import. And if we don't find the last import, so it's like find last import statement, and then, you know, if, or I guess otherwise take after, you know, the PHP open tag, right? That's pretty straightforward. We could just return 5. I was joking a minute ago, but really we would know that we were, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We would be after that. 6, I guess, for the next line. Theoretically, I guess you could be Windows where you had, you know, /r/n or something. We can mess with that in a minute. So let's try to find the last import statement here. And I think the way I would probably want to do that would just be a pretty simple regex. That would be, so we could say something like found equals preg match all. And then you would have to be the first thing on the line, and you would be like use with some kind of space, guaranteed, right? And then we could even be super strict and say something like you would have to be a /w or, you know, a namespace separator. So that would be the line, like you have to be that. Contents, and then I think we could go so far as to get like a preg. There's some flags here to get. I think there's like I thought there was like an offset order. Let's find out. Preg pattern order. Preg pattern order. Preg set order. Offset capture. Here we go. That's what I want. Yeah, see, I would just want the last index of where it found it. If this flag is passed for every occurring match, the appendant string offset in bytes will also be returned. Oh wait, no. The appendant string offset in bytes. Oh, is that the one it found? 0. Wait a second. Foobar baz. So it found it at 0. Found it at 0. Found it at 3. Oh, okay. It would be the match that it found, and then we would have to append kind of the length of the string that it found. So we could still do this. Let's borrow this. Let's change that to that. Oh, it's going to take matches, of course. Matches. All right, there we go. Matches and flags. All right, so if not found, then we would return 6. Otherwise, we would basically take the end of matches. Last would be that, and then we would return last, I guess 1. So last 1 plus the string length of matches, or last 0. So it returns the offset for the occurring. So the offset would give us, you know, in this case, foo match is 0. That's the very index of it. So if we added the string length of the entire match that it found, then that should give us the appropriate offset. And let's just prove this real fast. So you might be thinking, man, you're writing a lot of code and no test. Keep in mind that these are snapshot tests, and that's kind of what I like about these, is that I'm able to write like a lot of syntax parsing code and just crazy code, because all I really care about is the before and after of what the code looks like. So we're definitely hacking away here, but I have that test that's, you know, still sitting over here, and obviously we're putting this code in the wrong spot. So, you know, I'm able to push on because I wrote such a high level test. All right, let's run that. Okay, unexpected token if, what did I break here? PHP-L, no syntax errors. That's weird. No syntax errors. Oh, it's not in that file, it's in this file. Durr. Where are you? There you go. Line 92, what did I break? Oh, I can't see the end of my line because of the chat. There we go, forgot the semicolon, of course. All right. Okay, so int 6. So basic test is right, it returned 6. That makes sense because there was nothing it needed to do. In fact, to that point, for the basic test, at this point, if snippet, or well, no, never mind. Scratch that. Yeah, we could say if, double shift, if empty snippet, or not empty snippet, then we would do these things. We don't even need to mess with any of this if there is no snippet. So let's leave that, and we should not see var6 anymore. Cool, it moved on, great. Or no, we do still see int6, that's strange. Hey, look at this though. It actually put these out. It just put them in the wrong spot. It didn't get the last one. That's strange. Preg match all. Let's see what we get inside of matches. Maybe that offset capture didn't work the way I thought it would. It's just straight returning int6. Why are you not finding anything? Oh, multi-line. Multi-line flag. Multi-pass. Okay, cool. All right, so now we just have an issue with the assumption of the, okay, so one string linked argument must be a string. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm probably just not sub-indexing these correct. So let's print out last. How is last two things? Why didn't it do that? Does end not work the way I think it does? Is it like last element or something? Set the internal pointer to its last element. The value of the last element, or false if empty. What's your dealio? End matches. Matches is, it's still returning 2. I would have expected just to see this. Why is last all of matches? What is matches? Am I not thinking of this the right way? It's an array 0 of things that are found. Why is that? Why is that nested? Is that just like a preg set order thing? Preg match. Oh, it's matches of matches. That's kind of strange. It's for each match of the match. So I think we can probably say 0 here safely, because we don't have any capture groups. Yeah, there we go. 74, good. That's what we want. And notice that minus some line breaking, they are showing up in a little bit better of a spot. So I'm pretty comfortable with this. So find last import. What's your problem here? Oh, there you go. Be happy. All right, and then what else can we do here? Okay, so the line breaks are a little bit off, but I'm going to skip that for the time being, because what I want to do now is I would want to do the check doc block stuff next. And then I think we're going to jump the gun and go ahead and try to run this. Did I hear some chat? Could the target file have a namespace that has to be before the... No, I think Nuno told me version 1 of Pest is not namespaced. So in fact, this shift will actually kill your namespace intentionally. So there's going to be no namespace statement for the time being. I think we did that in part 2 or 3, I think, if you care to see it. Anyway, let's do the doc block and then we'll move on. Okay, so the doc block, if nothing's set, of course do nothing. Otherwise, here we would need to extract any @group statements. And then we would basically inject those into uses and then make sure to remove them. So this code already exists somewhere else, I think. We were doing it in our test methods. So it's like, I don't know exactly where it is, but yeah, here we go. There it is. So let's borrow this and we will, what would we want to do here? We have the doc block. We know what the original doc block is. We've theoretically pulled that over already. So doc block is really class doc block. Doc block. All right. And if that is in there, then instead of attributes, we would put this in uses. And we would do uses groups. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. We would just hard set that to uses groups to whatever it found in the match. Preg pattern order. And then we would string replace in contents. And then since it's passed by reference, we don't need to do anything else. So basically what this is doing is it is finding any group statements that would have been in the doc block that came over with the class. And then since we had already pulled that doc block in a previous task, we're just going to blanket preg replace it. I feel pretty good about the fidelity there. I mean, it's a bit generic, I guess, since the whole file is getting looped over, but again, I feel pretty good that you're not going to have that issue. And just to kind of avoid this nesting here, could do something here, same thing we did before, like found, and then if not found, then return, and we can pull all this out. I just like having that, you know, nice guard clause kind of stuff, and then at the bottom of the method, you know, or function, I just like, that's something I talk about in base code. I like just seeing like the primary action is what I call it, the main point of that method or function. I like seeing that at the bottom, and any kind of exemplary things at the top. That way I know if I'm coming in, I have the context of what class is. Oh, there's no doc block, bail. I don't even need to read any more code, right? So let's see if this kills that group statement. It does not. Array to string conversion, line 33. What did I break here? Oh, of course. So if not empty uses, I would want to unset uses group, or well, no. Yes, I would want to unset. We're kind of making a special, I'm kind of making like this special group here. or groups, I think we called it. Yes, we did. So hopefully you don't have an import statement called groups. Again, I'll deal with that when we get there. I think unset returns what it destroys. No, returns void. Okay. So what we'd have to do here is probably say, I want to extract that out of there. So we'll just have to wrap this up. So if isSet uses groups, I want to make sure to put these last is what I'm getting at. So if isSet uses groups, then we'll just say groups. This is a little bit ugly, but again, I'm going to refactor all this code later. Becomes this. All right, and then at the bottom, we'll say if isSet groups. It's a little gross. Then we'll say snippet, or well, for each. We'll do the same thing pretty much. Just doing these separately. I'll probably build a method that does all this at once and returns a built-up snippet. That way it's just a lot cleaner. But anyway, we'll do snippet, we'll do, there should be a line break already in there. And so the way this works is it would be a uses this and then group of the implosion of those names. So it's not class. And we actually don't need to for each it. We would do an implode here of, if there are multiple, then we would kind of join them as strings groups. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Hey, look at that. There it is. Okay, so minus the line breaks, this actually works. The complex test is pulling over the uses. It dropped out that group from the doc block, and it injected it at the bottom of those uses statements. So again, while it's not pretty, neither in code or in the final result of kind of the output, it is functional. And I think since I want to demo what this looks like, we're gonna leave this here. So let's close down this, and let's actually just try to run this with the last 15 minutes I have here. So let's just git add dot on that, git whip it, git push it, and what can we do here? Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I am going to temporarily, I think the easiest thing to do would be for me to go out to Laravel shift, and let's just fake run. Let's fake run something here. Let's run like the linter, or you know what? Let's run the fixer. I haven't run the fixer in a while. Jason McCreary, confident Laravel. Oh, confident Laravel. Master's fine. Thanks for the prefill. Let's check out and run. That should be on my thing. So let's run this. Should be queued up. All right, and let's let that run. That's gonna give me a legit token. I don't want you all to see that token. So let's do this. Let's just look at my mug for a second. Okay, you're gonna see me full screen for a minute. Let me deploy this to a custom worker. And then let me jump on that worker and get the command to be able to try to start running this. And once it starts running, I'll share my screen again. All right, so it's just deploying to worker 3. I think there's 4 workers, but worker 3 won't have Worker 3 is only used for like the workbench and like background processes. It's kind of like an administrative queue. It's not like the actual shift queue. So I know I'm safe to push this branch there because it's kind of, again, my like auxiliary worker. It'll never get promoted to anything else. So let me just SSH into that real quick. Let me go to Laravel shift and let me get that token, and then I'll share my screen again. So I've got a little command, an artisan command. I write a bunch of artisan commands to help kind of manage shift. So I have like a dump command and I can pass it a shift number. So if we go back and get shift number 4902, that's my Laravel fixer. And if we now paste that out and then change its SKU to be PP, we should run this against confident Laravel. Okay. This is running, but 2 issues. Well, okay, let me share my screen. Well, no shit, it's got the freaking token there. Hold on a second. I guess I can invalidate my token when we're all done, but give me just a second here. Let's open this. Oh, I know what I can do. We'll leave the fixer up. I'll change this to be live demo. There we go. All right, let me make sure this doesn't show anything funky. It doesn't. Okay, 2 things, but I think it actually ran. So let's see what it looks like. Let me share my screen. Can you all see my screen again? You should? Yes. Okay, cool. Here we go. It actually ran very first time. There are a few issues with it. 2 things. Let's scroll up. Let me show you what's going on. I'm going to scroll up very slowly because I don't want to hit that special token command. So we can see from that log, kind of like I talked about in some of the earlier streams, just real simple stuff. Hey, I'm running this task. It took, 1 second. I'm running this task. Notice here all of those ints. So it looks like we left that var dump in there for all those indices we were trying to find when we were converting class to script, which makes total sense that we see these before it completed that task. But look at this, all of this, downloading the cloning the repo, running all those tasks, pushing a pull request up, adding comments to the pull request via GitHub, waiting on its API. 8 seconds. 8 seconds, and you can be running Pest. Come on. All right, let's see what it actually did. Okay, so it converted our test cases. Nice. And it added a base Pest class. Nice. Okay, shift detected helper methods in the following. Okay, cool. So again, I didn't live stream this, but again, in that helper methods, if I found some, because there can be namespace conflicts inside of Pest, I just kind of warn you, hey, these files kind of have those custom things in there. So hey, you might just want to go check these out and make a custom helper instead. So just link you to the docs to show that. So anyway, moving on, shift detected you're running Laravel. Great, this is a Laravel application. So it added a little Pest default thing and said, hey, if you want to move your helper methods over for your base test case, you can. No pressure. And then just a little tag out there for the new #p parallel plugin that's out there currently in beta, just to let you know that you can run parallel tests inside of PHP Pest. So let's look at the actual changes, and this is the part that could be pretty nasty. Okay, so it dropped PHPUnit and brought in Pest, and it also gave me the Pest Laravel plugin. Excellent. This is all very good. It didn't do anything with Faker other than add the comma, so that's kind of innocuous. Now that should be in its own task, or own commit, I should say. So let's go fix that just real fast. Let's bring up dependencies, and that's Pest dependencies. There it is. And I can do that simply by adding a commit method here. And we can return a commit with message add pest dependencies. Man, I still can't spell dependencies. There we go, that should fix that. So now that this task has its own commit, it should be automatically picked up. So that'll get broken out into a nice atomic commit instead of converting the test cases commit. So let's see what it did. It dropped the namespace. Oh, this is actually a Dusk test. You know what? I didn't totally consider Dusk. So let's skip over those for now. Let's look at a feature test. Here we go. So I dropped the namespace. That makes sense. I brought in a uses, and then I brought in the test case. Let's look at this test case. So index uses add-on middleware. So test index uses add-on middleware. Nice. Okay, function, good. This assert action uses middleware. Boom, boom, boom. Proper syntax. Moved over a test method. It didn't have an it in front of it, but it did have an annotation. Picked it up, it converted it. Again, our line breaks are a little off. I can fix that. Let's look at some more. Here's a nicer one. Look at this. Okay, so apply purchasing power. Drop the namespace. Kept all the imports. Looks good. Apply purchasing power. It picked up our traits. Nice. And then test it. Cool. So it returns a 403 with assign URL. Look at that, nice casing. Here's the response, here's the assertions. I mean, I'm gonna scroll through all these, but this, I mean, look, it got the indentation correctly. This looks pretty promising, y'all, for a first run. Look at that. There's definitely some things I wanna tweak. Probably need to ignore the dust test temporarily. Hey Mark, hey Adrian, how's it going? Just finishing up the demo here. But yeah, this looks really, really promising, y'all. Like this, wow. I can't believe that ran first run like that. I'm I've impressed myself. So a couple notes here. Let's make some notes of things to fix, other than the obvious stuff I kind of cheated on earlier with the line breaks. But let's do something in here. Skip Dusk, maybe? I need to do some more research on Dusk. I know that Pest supports it. I'm just wondering, I guess Nuno, since you're still on, like, I know this is kind of weird to look at, but does this look valid to you, I guess? Like, from a browser test perspective? Like, I guess it's extending a Dusk test case. I don't know why you would need to do anything different for Dusk, right? I mean, it's just calling the browse methods inside here. I know there's some fancier API you can use for Pest, but in general, I mean, I can convert a Dusk test, right? Like there's nothing special I would have to do, more or less. I mean, it extends Laravel Dusk test case, which would theoretically do all the wiring, and I'm still calling browse inside of, you know, the pest test function. So I'm assuming that probably all just works, but anyway, if you're not on the stream, of course I can figure it out myself, but yeah, I'd be curious, like, yeah, does Dusk, you know, just work? So yeah, of course I'll be able to download this and test it myself, but learn the hard way, only run it via PHP Artisan Pest Dusk. It does indeed support Dusk, but okay, so basically you want to run it separate, of course. You'd want to run those tests separate is what you're saying. Yeah, should we comment about running, you know, Pest Dusk? Yeah. So I think there's an opportunity to at least detect if we are using Dusk, and if so, let them know they can run those tests. You know, Shift did convert them, but we can run those tests, you know, with Pest Dusk. So I think there's an opportunity to probably put that down here. Now, again, remember, we're still going to do some basic conversions to the expectation chains. So you might be thinking, oh, man, it'd be cool if, you know, Pest, you know, some of this stuff was like expect, you know, video element, you know, to contain string or whatever, right? Like, that's all going to happen here. But again, for an MVP of converting your code, I feel really good about this. I'm still kind of in shock. I know there's a lot of diff here, but I mean, look at that. Here's a good example. Like, it retrieves, I mean, this should run. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so I think here's what I'm gonna do. I'm probably gonna stop the stream here. I'm gonna clean up some of those line breaks. I'm gonna fix the missing PR file that's here. So notice that it didn't give you that fancy little, you know, hey, Shift automated this. That is in pull requests, Pest Converter somewhere. There it is. So this file does exist, and it would say this. So just to kind of edit this and show you what it should have said, here you go. So this is what it should say, and of course branch would get interpolated with an actual branch name, Shift Live Demo in this case. But the problem was, if we go back here, it's actually seeing // That is because of this get code. We left it null because I believed it wasn't used on Monday when we were driving this out, but it actually is used. It would need to be like Pest Converter is kind of the internal code, and that would give me the right path here. So that would say get /pest-converter and then pull request markdown. So that should fix that. I'll drive that out in a minute. So I think what I'll do again is stop here, clean up those few things, and then I'll rerun this and actually try to download it, install Pest, and see it running those tests locally. And if so, I'll make a short Twitter demo video, just a little 1-minute video, so we can see this run start to finish. And yeah, at that point, it's time for some private alpha testing. I know, again, Frake is going to let me use it on one of his projects. Luke has offered to let me use it on one of his projects. I obviously have 4 or 5 projects I can run it on. Confident Laravel Shift itself, the Shift code base itself. I'm sure Nuno's got a project he would like me to run it on, or heck, maybe we can even run it against the Laravel framework. Lots of tests there, what, 10,000 tests? So yeah, super cool. Very exciting that this ran kind of honestly first run here. I mean, I have not tried to run it. I really made myself not do it last night. I wanted to, but I waited. So I'm super impressed that this is running so well here. So I hope you all enjoyed these live streams. It was really fun working in the open. It's been kind of nuts, of course, with COVID and, you know, staying inside, and then of course with Izzy. So it's been kind of nice to kind of be a little bit social. I really appreciate you all joining these live. I hope you're excited to try this out next week. I plan to release a beta to the public, a public beta, once we test on those applications. Hopefully before Laracon next week, so probably Tuesday or even late Monday, I'll release this if all that testing goes well. So join me and Frake on Monday to see this again live on one of his projects, and we can kind of look more at like what to do with the PR from then on. But PRs are being created. It's about to go nuts, y'all. That's pretty cool. I'll see you.